I think the banana looks better this way or this way. I think I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna change shirts. It's the same shirt as the last video. I can't wear the same shirt. As much as it would be fun to just keep making stuff that the algorithm is gonna like, the fact that Backrooms is the title, I think really helped. I made a list of videos that were things I wanted to make. I have a list of ideas and I'm gonna make those, so deal with it. This one was spawned from the idea when I went to see The Black Phone 2 last year. And it wasn't a bad movie, but I didn't like it. It had this familiar feeling that made me think about horror movie sequels that aren't as satisfying as the original. I really liked the original Black Phone. It felt very singular, it felt very special, and I really enjoyed it. And then the Black Phone 2, I kind of was like, I almost wish I didn't even go, because I would rather have just sat with the original feeling that the initial movie gave me. Does that make sense? Now, if we zoom out, this feeling that franchises give me that I can't really describe. I would call it dread, but it's not that deep. It's more just like, it makes me feel like I have a lack of control over my own life. If you've ever heard A Funny Feeling by Bo Burnham,
it's that funny feeling. You fake fan. You're literally about to say it.
You'll kind of know what I'm talking about. It's that feeling. The line, another Minion movie dropped, like that could literally slide right in there because that's exactly how it makes me feel. Horror movies are one of the biggest culprits of this. If you've seen Halloween or Paranormal Activity or Insidious or The Conjuring or any of those, you know what I'm talking about when I say they just take an idea that was successful and they stretch it. The guys in the studios rubbing their hands together going, oh, you know, Conjuring made 280 million. Yeah, we're gonna make $1 billion over the next 15 years with this.
Let's pause for a sec. Can we look at these numbers real quick? I said 280 million. The Conjuring made 315. Tell me why The Conjuring Last Rites that came out last year, I saw that movie, it was so mediocre. I would even go as far as to say less than mediocre. Why did that make 500 million? Why did $366 million worth of people go and see The Nun? Like, I can't even blame them. $2.4 billion for the Warrens to just like LARP around and pretend like they know what ghosts are up to? Okay, fair enough. Franchise it. God.
It doesn't even necessarily mean that those movies are bad. That's the thing. They don't have to be bad. What usually happens is they have a couple of good ones and they get progressively a little bit worse throughout. Like the trend line of quality does kind of just decline. And then at some point, they'll be like, oh, okay, we've made 3 bad ones in a row. They reboot it, they refresh it. It's a new act, new cast, whatever. It's an origin story, it's something. And then they try to make one more good one. It's like the 6th movie in the series. And then that's it. Then they kind of trail off again. What I think is different about these movies that I want to talk about is that they never had the chance to get there. And that's what I think is really funny, because it's an interesting dichotomy between the spirit of that, but then the reality of people just didn't respond to the second movie for whatever reason. So they kind of die, they kind of flop on arrival. I don't know, I find those to be a really interesting case study. And I want to talk about a few of them because to me, it's almost nice. It begs some questions. It's like, is this better? Is it better that we had a bad movie second so that they never extended on and got worse and worse and we saw something we love get cheaper and more of a copy and more of an imitation of the thing we loved before? Or could you ask, maybe it's even more of a tragedy because we liked an original thing and now when anyone would mention the name of that franchise, they would only ever think of the first thing. It's like the second movie doesn't even exist or there's no real point to ever consider it. Or you might even just blend them together and go, yeah, that probably all happened in that one movie because all I remember are certain parts of it. If we're talking about strictly horror movies, the ones I want to talk about today are Sinister, The Black Phone, as I mentioned before, The Gallows, Unfriended, The Strangers. Why not? I'll just throw 5 Nights at Freddy's in there because it kind of fits the bill of what I'm describing. All right, you guys ready? Let's get into it. Guys, I got a tripod. So now I can have the camera like this and I can set up a cool, interesting shot and I can film from anywhere. And it can be exciting and interesting. We've leveled up the quality so much on these videos, okay? I'm actually gonna set up a good shot, but just get excited. No, I'm not filming this on a different day. What are you talking about? I'll be so transparent. I recorded this Sinister section a couple of different times and I just didn't really like the way I was coming across. And I think the reason why I want to start with Sinister is it's so symbolic and emblematic of this specific type of movie because realistically, I think they could make a Sinister 3. I think they could make a whole 5 or 6 more sequels if they wanted to. Come back, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know how stupid I am. Leave a dislike, actually, please. The reason why Sinister was so significant to me is I think I saw it at the perfect time in my childhood. It was around, 12 years old? The idea of the snuff film was just cool. Like, you went on the internet, you wanted to see crazy, ridiculous things. Like, that's why Human Centipede and Cannibal Holocaust are watched at sleepovers. It's that kind of vibe, toned down a little and given the Blumhouse treatment. Blumhouse is really good at churning these kinds of movies out, but every so often, instead of the regular B-tier kind of filler movie that they make, they'll have a really successful one. They'll make The Conjuring, or they'll make I was gonna say The Purge, but that movie wasn't very good. That was just a cool idea and made a lot of money. So Sinister comes out and it feels organic. It's this brainchild with Rob Cargill, who made it with Scott Derrickson, and you'll hear those names again when I talk about The Black Phone, because both of them worked on The Black Phone and the sequel as well. To give a basic general background, you have Ethan Hawke as the main character. He's the father of a family, and he moves into this new house. He finds these tapes, and on the tapes are these horrifying visuals of murders happening, of families. It's connected to this crime mystery about families and kids that go missing and murders that happen, and he finds out that one of the murders took place in this house. So as these tapes become more paranormal in nature, it becomes less real and more crazy when he starts burning them and they don't disappear. He's like, all right, I'm getting out of here, moving out of my house. And then that leads to what happens at the end of the movie. Spoilers, it's the kids that are the ones doing it. His daughter uses the help of Bagul, who's the demon that is doing the whole thing, and they kill their family. And it's actually really well written. It's tight, it's tense, and the ambiance that's created is so effective. People gravitated towards the snuff films themselves because they were really interesting. But it wasn't just the snuff films. They didn't have to rely on that. It felt like a nice set piece that provided context for the rest of the movie. But Sinister 1, on the whole, was a very effective, very scary movie that had really interesting individual vignettes that are filmed in this old Super 8 style, which is a calling card of Cargill and Derrickson and what they like to do. And then it ends, and the mystery is revealed, and you get a full, complete package. But it made enough money that they thought, okay, let's make a Sinister 2. I don't think it was necessarily what the director and the writer had envisioned. Because it was so successful, they thought, we gotta pump out another one of these. On the 2015 slate, just write Sinister 2 and we'll come up with a script. I wanted to give a lesson for each one of these, like what went wrong. And I think for the other ones, some of it's more clear, and when I talk about them, it'll make it really obvious why those weren't as effective. But for Sinister, it kind of just feels like the movie is worse. And I wanted to do better than just say, well, that's a worse movie. And so I think the lesson that I've deduced from Sinister as a case study is, in the same way that a movie can be better than the sum of its individual parts, I think a movie can be worse when all of its individual parts are also worse. Let me explain. Sinister had a pretty simple premise, and it relied on these snuff films, but also the core of the movie was this mystery. So what you did for the second one was you remove the mystery element, you focus way too much on the wrong characters, and you lean really hard into those snuff films, which by the way are not as well done, and they're not delivered as effectively. And then you try to make it a similar level movie, and you wonder why people are not taking to it the same way. It's obvious. The child acting is terrible, and the whole movie revolves around the kids instead of the adults figuring it out. So we no longer have an audience surrogate who we experience the movie with. We're now following characters who we don't really like and we can't really connect to, and they have this wooden and stilted acting. So it's not an effective way to deliver that message. On top of that, you're not really giving your characters a chance to deliver an effective message because we already know the mystery. We know what happens, we know the kids are the ones doing it, and we know it revolves around this Bagul character. And when Bagul is this mysterious demon that we don't know how he operates or where he goes or how he's even involved. But then once it's made clear that, oh, he's bewitching the kids, he takes them, he brings their soul into the movie or whatever, and then it's it. It's like, cool, but now there's no mystery element anymore. So all we're really waiting for is to see these kills. It's not that interesting anymore. And then also, the funniest part of Sinister 2 is that the plot is not the scary part. The part that got me when I was a kid was the fact that there's this abusive stepdad, and he is really like the villain of the movie. And it's so funny to me that you took this otherworldly, scary demon guy and you made him look like the second fiddle to just like a white dude who hits his wife. And that was so like terrifying to me, but also kind of like ridiculous. Every time the stepdad is on screen, I'm like, oh God, I want him to go away. And I was hoping that that would tie into the plot somehow. I was hoping that it would be this cool allegory, right? Where it's about how the kid has this real life demon in his life who's a human being, and like the horrors of a father who beats his wife and abuses his children is more scary than any demon could ever be. And so maybe he's more capable of fighting back against Bagul as a kid because he's had to face these horrors in real life. Or maybe he becomes more susceptible to Bagul's bewitching and possession because he's already been abused. And so maybe that's something that Bagul does, is he goes after kids who were abused, and we get this extra element where even though it would be a bit gimmicky, we could kind of like flash back to the first one and see how all these kids had some elements of abuse, and maybe Ethan Hawke wasn't as good of a father as we thought he was, and maybe he was abusive to his family, and it kind of coats the previous movie in a different lens, and maybe you could rewatch that one through. Again, I don't know. I don't know how that would work and whether or not that would be compatible with the way that movie is, but I just think it would be some kind of interesting dimension to add to the sequel. But instead, you get a cheaper feeling, worse acted movie with a non-interesting story, and, sorry, the snuff films aren't as good. There's one good one. There's one good one in the whole movie, and it's the rats one, and it's the only thing kids talked about at lunch because they went and saw Sinister 2, and they were like, yeah, that movie sucked. But when they put the rats and then the bowl, and then they had to kill and eat their way through the people, that was awesome. So they had one good kill. Ultimately, I think that's the lesson to be learned, is if you make each of the parts of the movie subsequently worse, then the whole movie is considerably worse. It's not like a 5% worse in each regard leads to a 5% worse movie. It's every part of the movie goes down, and your movie is substantially not even enjoyable at that point. I want to quickly touch on the Black Phone. I know I spoke about it a little bit. Black Phone 2 suffers from sort of a similar vibe. I don't think the Black Phone 2 is as bad as Sinister 2. It's not even close. And it's the same directors, instead of which happened with Sinister, which is that Cargill and Derrickson didn't direct the second one. So that is pretty evident in this movie. They utilize some of the same techniques, Ethan Hawke and the Super 8 footage, and it's the same cast. I think they are worse at acting for whatever reason. I don't know why Mason Thames is like considerably worse when he has to be a grown-up teenager rather than a young teenager, but fair enough. Maybe he was too busy filming How to Train Your Dragon to put in a good performance for Sinister 2, or for the Black Phone 2. I don't know. It just felt like they didn't have a story. They didn't really have a way to tie it up together. The grabber dies at the end of the first movie, and then he's just like a ghost that's also still able to interact with them in real life. And I know that ghosts being able to interact with the humans in the real world is a motif in the first movie, so it's not that big of a stretch. I like the ambiance of the snow and the camp. It kind of works. It just feels like you're watching an amalgamation of a bunch of different movies. Nightmare on Elm Street plus, Friday the 13th plus a little bit of Sinister, and you're kind of like, okay, it's fine, but why are the characters that we're watching doing the story? I like the angle of going for, we're trying to deal with Finney's trauma that he experienced because of this. That's a pretty mature take. I just don't think it was written very effectively because they didn't want to make this movie. I don't think they did. And maybe I'm wrong. If there's a Black Phone 2 book out there, because the Black Phone is based on the book, if there's a second book or there's more material and they were just adapting that and I'm the idiot, please let me know. And they took all the parts of the first one. They went, oh, we'll grab, okay, the dead kids are part of it. The phone, obviously we need the phone. We'll have the original cast. Okay, we'll put them in a new setting and we'll have the grabber ice skate instead of take a van. And it'll be just as good, guys, I swear. And it wasn't. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't as good. We'll get into the next ones. We'll keep it rolling.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing a Sinister Kills tier list. I'm not gonna talk like that the whole time. This is just an excuse to learn how to do OBS. I just thought this would be fun. I think we're gonna see a trend that Sinister 1 kills are better than Sinister 2, generally, but there's not that many of them, so there are outliers. Kitchen remodeling is pretty solid. You got the electrocution, the family hung up. I don't think it's my favorite. I think we're gonna start with a solid B tier. It's got redeeming qualities, the kill is pretty cool, but there's nothing really that iconic about it. The camera work isn't that great, and I don't know, it doesn't stick out to me. It's just a pretty middle of the road kill from Sinister 1. Unlike Lawnmower Kill, which I think is considerably better. I think it's a little bit goofy, the way that the guy, like the head jumps out and kind of jump scares. I don't think that that's that impactful, the way that it really gets some people. But there's a visceral edge to this kill. The idea of a lawnmower blade chewing up your face. Everybody's a little bit afraid of the lawnmower, and I think tapping into those common fears that we have are really why some of these are so effective. So that one is gonna go A tier, but it's not as good as this one, which, spoiler alert, this is the best one in the whole two movies. Anybody who has any other opinion, I don't know what you want out of a kill. This shot is so iconic that it's like, I wanted to make it the thumbnail for the entirety of the whole video. That's how much I like this shot and this tape and this everything. I wouldn't have done that because YouTube would have gotten mad at me for having hanging victims in a YouTube thumbnail, but you get the idea. It's definitely going in S tier. It's hauntingly beautiful. It provokes a lot of questions. How did this happen? Who's doing this? And it's just so effective. It's simple and effective. This one also from Sinister 1 is very good. I got front-loaded all the good ones, so we're gonna get worse as we go out. Again, I think the effective thing about this one, I'm gonna put this one top of A tier, actually. We're gonna move you over here. This one's effective because it sets the scene as if it's a home invasion. So you immediately go into the mindset of, oh, I'm in my room, I'm scared, someone's coming up the stairs to get me. That's effective, everyone's afraid of that. But there's also the element of it kind of gives off the energy that it's an adult doing it. And so that reinforces the mystery element where it makes you question subconsciously who's doing these and why they're happening. You don't think of it as a kid being the one to do it. And then when it's revealed at the end, it's almost more scary because you're like, whoa, the kid was in the house the whole time. My kids could kill me. It's interesting. I like that. A tier. Barbecue one, also pretty solid. I don't know why we got all the good ones up front. This one, I'm gonna put this one in. This one goes in A tier as well. Again, Sinister 1 kills are classic. They're really well filmed. They're scary. The iconography of like the chains wrapped around the car on fire. Very cool, very good. I think that's gonna be the last of the really good ones we have. Oh, no, there's one more, but Christmas Morning, this one works for a lot of people. A lot of the internet says this is some of their favorite. I like it. I think the bells in the background are haunting. It's really nice. I think the fact that it's slow death, the eyes of the person who's still alive, but they're basically not, the Christmas lights, it's cool. It didn't quite hit me. Maybe it's just because Sinister 2 isn't as good of a movie, and that's why it didn't hit me as hard. The way it's filmed looks a little different than the first movies. I think I'm gonna say it's B tier, but I'll go top of B tier because that one is pretty solid. This one is the only redeeming quality that Sinister 2 has. And I know that this one is drawn out a little bit. The filming is kind of weird. It doesn't work quite as effectively as anything in the first movie. And yet, this one rocks. It's so cool. Just the imagery and the idea of an animal having to eat its way out of your body because it's the hot bowl placed on top of it. It's so creative and crazy, and it's like a medieval torture method. So cool. It's not above the hanging, but it's going next to it because it's literally the only thing I remember about Sinister 2 before I rewatched it. This one sucks. The dentist one is awful. The way it's filmed is bad. It doesn't really give off the vibe that a kid would be doing this. Yes, a kid might be afraid of the dentist, but like dentistry is not something that we're inherently like connected to in the same visceral way. It's scary and it's uncomfortable, but it just doesn't feel right. There's something, and the way it's filmed feels cliche and like a different horror movie altogether. It doesn't work. This one doesn't work. Cross-burning one is fine. I don't think it's as effective because he doesn't actually do it. It runs out and then Bagul disappears and all this stuff happens. But the stepdad does get guapped in this one, which I really needed to have happen. He burns alive, and even though we're not supposed to be celebrating the death in these movies, kind of wanted the stepdad to die. Okay, we'll keep it moving. C tier. This one was pretty bad too. Because of just the way it was kind of goofy. I like the inversion of the shot, but again, you ask the question, how did a kid do this? How would a kid hang up his entire family over water? Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, the logistics aren't there. And don't use that to disparage the first one because that one is awesome, even if it's the same exact issue. This one, I'm going C tier as well. The crocodiles look pretty goofy, but it's, you know, it's got the visceral energy as well. And then the pool one, I don't know, Bagul being in the pool, people think is kind of goofy. I thought it was kind of cool because just at this point you don't really know much about him and everything you see is a little more interesting. So we're gonna go bottom of B tier for that one. I wish there were more kills. I wish there were more movies. I want more tapes, not that I want to see more death. And hopefully the recording works. And this will be a cool little thing to put into the video. It'll be down there. Okay, all right, moving on.
Malfunction during the high school's presentation of the Gallows.
Guys, this crazy stuff is going down, and even though I'm being terrorized by a ghost and it's going to kill me, I'm gonna keep recording the whole time. Come with me. Let me just set up a nice shot. I figured it'd be kind of a cool thing to do a little POV mirror shot for the Gallows in the spirit of the found footage style. I went into the Gallows with the lowest of the lowest expectations. I saw it had really bad Letterboxd, really bad Rotten Tomatoes, and the lesson for this one was gonna be it was never good in the first place. And that's kind of true, but it wasn't that bad. I think there was some real redeeming qualities to this one. The movie is a found footage style And it was made in 2015, which is funny because I got this cozy nostalgia while I was watching it of like, oh, this reminds me of like a long time ago when I was young and I was watching, this style of horror movie. If it came out in 2006 or 2007, I think this could be looked back on as like a kind of cult classic. I really think there's a place for a movie like this. It just came out 10 years too late and wasn't very good. I'll get it out of the way. It sucked. It wasn't good. I think the real main issues are they forced the found footage aesthetic. It doesn't really work and it doesn't make any sense. Why are the characters holding the camera? The acting is over the top, really annoying. The writing flitters back and forth between some moments, some brief moments of genuine teenage facial expressions or teenage interactions that friends would have, or a reaction between, a girlfriend and a high school guy. And then it can only do that for one or two lines before it jumps back into like, oh, you're a nerd. All right, go play football. Stop doing theater, you dweeb, you dork. And it's like, oh my God, bro, shut up. He does the YouTuber, like reactor YouTuber thing of they're the most annoying people ever. Say whatever's happening on the screen. And it gives off this essence of that they don't have any confidence in what they're making. They don't have confidence in the visuals enough, or that there's such a disconnect between the filming aspect of it and the writing aspect of it, where the guy's not actually delivering those lines. He's doing it almost like voiceover because he can't say it while the guy who's actually holding the camera rig is holding it. So it just feels annoying and disconnected, and you've made a character that nobody cares about and all wants to see die. The actual lesson for this movie, they just didn't have enough movie. The movie ran out of steam about 30 minutes in. Once they've established the plot and the context of where they're gonna be, you realize like, what are they gonna do? Like, what's gonna happen? It's a short movie. It's only 80 minutes, and it barely could have been an hour. It needed like way less. I was watching it being like, this should be a short film. You could literally do this in like 4 scenes, jump scare, ending, and that would be all it is. So when they decided to pitch a second one within the same universe, first of all, they abandoned the found footage element, which is like the entire calling card of what the first one was. But also it was probably the right call because the first one's found footage was bad. And then they squeeze out this lore that like we don't even really care about anymore because the first movie's characters didn't even like have enough to do for the full 80 minutes. You didn't have enough movie for one movie. The only reason they made one for the second was because there was money on the table. This is one of the most profitable movies ever made. It's so funny. But this coming out in 2019 as a sequel? Come on. It has one of the lowest reviews scores that I've ever seen. It's got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, it wasn't that bad, guys. It wasn't 0% on Rotten Tomatoes bad. Nobody, not a single one of you out there was like, it's fine. Even the first one had like 20% or something. I actually kind of enjoyed watching it. I think it's a bad movie, but I think in the right context, if you're with friends, you could make fun of it a little bit. And I do think there's a vision, there's an idea. I think it just came 10 years too late. And then they had no movie left to make a second one, and we're like, I guess we'll do it. Don't make a third one. I think what could happen is something I saw on Letterboxd, and it seems like a prevailing opinion from the people who are defending this movie, is that somebody with an artsy eye and with a little bit more technical skill and more budget could make something that is a homage or a riff on this style, and it's like kids in a school and the horror element of that. I could imagine, like, again, he's very topical, very trendy, but like a Kane Parsons doing something with this idea and this IP or this, something, that universe or something similar, because there is potential there. And there were times where I was like, oh, okay, that interaction wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. The setting's not bad. Everybody likes a high school movie. A24 got their hands on this. I feel like it wouldn't have been bad. It was too late in time. Again, early 2000s, it would have been the cool, like, new found footage on the block. It's the same thing. If Paranormal Activity came out right now, everyone would be like, what the hell is that? That's boring. Nothing happens for like 2 hours and then a door closes. So the Gallows is the same thing. A good idea in theory, not the best execution, but they tried, and do not make any more. Please, it's over or done.
What better way to talk about Unfriended than to do it in my computer screen like this? I think Unfriended is actually the perfect thematic follow-up to The Gallows because Both of them really lean on their central gimmick so much, and I think with the Gallows, it really suffers as a result. Unfriended is kind of the opposite of that, and I think it came out at the perfect time. It actually came out before the Gallows, if you'll believe it. It was the first one, at least the first one I can remember, of these movies. The computer screen, Skype call, all the way to the end. I personally find them to be a little bit confining and constricted, because when I go to the movies, I want to escape. I want to get out of screens. I don't want to look at my phone or my computer. I do that all day. So there is some level of that with me when I watch Unfriended. But because of the novelty, because it was the first one to do it, and it did it pretty effectively, I'm gonna give credit. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I think it was actually pretty solid. It is a girl in high school, and she's bullied, and she commits suicide before the movie takes place. And so you follow this group of friends who are on a Skype call, they're talking to each other. This account joins that used to belong to the girl who committed suicide. She terrorizes them, but she also creates this friction in the friend group, reveals secrets, or get them to choose between each other, or get them to show that they weren't really that close in the first place. It leads to her killing them one by one, and they all die at the end. It's also revealed that one of the girls in the group is the one who posted the video that led to her getting bullied, and then she ended up killing herself, so that's why it ends up happening. I honestly think Unfriended did a pretty good job with the premise and with the format. I think the medium that they delivered in is really effective, especially because it's so fresh, and we've never seen anything like that before. There are obvious wrinkles and hiccups you can see if you're really paying attention, where you're looking and go, oh, that shot doesn't quite line up with that shot. Oh, because of that line, you can tell she's not exactly in the same room in the same call as that person. But given the limited confines of the storytelling method, and on a first watch where you're not really paying attention to the details, it's effective and it's cool. I don't think the kills are that interesting. I don't think the jump scares are all that great, but the actors do a decent job, and for this style of horror movie, I think it's pretty solid. Kills are iconic, you know, you've got the blender one and whatever. I think the glitch effect where it looks like the Wi-Fi's not working and they freeze, and then like that to me gets old so quickly, and which is why the second one I don't think is as effective, because they try to rely back on that same method. I gotta give credit where credit's due and say Unfriended is pretty good. The lesson with this one is a simple fact of the gimmick only has so many legs, or so much legs. It's that simple. I'll give credit here too and say they tried to do something different and go a different angle with it. They went, oh, well, what's another dimension of the internet we can talk about? Ooh, the underbelly of the dark web. And honestly, I don't hate that technique, but you gotta commit to it. You gotta make it rated R. You gotta show me sex trafficking and pedophiles and stuff that's really messed up on the dark web, and have that tie into these friends. You know, maybe one of them has been looking at things that they shouldn't have. Maybe one of them is, you know, thinks they're a hacker, but then they get their computer taken advantage of, and it shows all the stuff that they've been doing, and they've been infiltrating their friend group and, you know, spying on them, and it's about identity, privacy. That could have been a cool movie. Instead, they went half and half, and it was this weird thing of, well, it sort of does the point that they're trying to get across, but not really all the way, and it doesn't really do it in a way that feels satisfying. The kills aren't that good, and instead it gives us this like masked cartoon version of a hacker who's, you know, bypassing the mainframe, rather than it being like seriously screwed up, messed up individuals, or like the first one, this unknown demonic presence that we don't know how it operates. And again, I just got sick of the style. I don't want to watch Zoom calls anymore. I think with this one, it's a simple case of the novelty ran out. I can't disparage the actors. I can't say I didn't have a good time watching it. I don't think I'd rewatch it multiple times, but it is the kind of horror movie that, not giving anybody the premise and being like, and hoping that they've never seen anything in this style, I would love to show it to them and be like, huh? Isn't that kind of cool? And then let them only watch one and that be the whole thing. I think more of these will be made. I think there will be a couple more that are churned out, because it seems like they're not that difficult to do. Oh, the other angle is AI. I mean, AI is everywhere. It's taking over our entire lives, but I think it could be used to tell a similar story where maybe you're not strictly confined to just computer screens, but tapping into like deep fakes and the idea that we don't know how to verify identity anymore. You don't know what you're seeing is the truth. It's difficult to trust your eyes and then trust your friends as a result. Take it seriously, make it legit. Don't just show me like, you know, Will Smith eating pasta and then be like, oh, his face melted, now it's scary, and oh, your AI girlfriend is actually a fake person that you didn't trust. Cool. I think if you go existential and philosophical and huge and like, oh my God, this is terrifying because this is the nature of our reality, you can't trust yourself anymore, it could be really well done and cool. But if you go simple, surface level, like the average person, what they think AI is and how it operates, and go like boomer fear, then it'll all be annoying, and I'll be like, oh, that's a PG-13 slop fest, you'll make 100 million and get out of my face, I don't want to see you anymore. But ultimately, it's not a bad movie, and I think that Unfriended existed at its place in time, in the, you know, the mid 2010s. It was a cute movie, and I'm glad it exists, and I don't think we need it anymore. Good work, Unfriended. You're not the worst one here, and you allowed me to do a cool little editing thing, so thanks for that.
There's someone out there.
I'm so sorry. I can't watch all three of these movies. I have a full-time job. I got things I gotta do. I gotta edit this thing. You know how much editing I've had to do on this video? I watched the first Strangers movie, okay? And I watched even the dumb sequel that wasn't even supposed to be a part of this video, Strangers Pray at Night. This is gonna turn my analytical video that I made for the last however many hours of editing into a rant style because these movies are terrible. Okay, one of the worst trilogies ever made. It's needless, it's thoughtless, it's terrible. The lesson for this one could just be this movie sucks balls. But it's not gonna be that because I think the main thing I wanted to get across about one of the reasons why this movie sucks so bad and this trilogy is so god-awful is because less is more. The Strangers was a powerful, interesting movie because it felt invasive. The same way that Paranormal Activity invaded our bedrooms, which is supposed to be a safe place. The Strangers initially tapped into this late Y2K feeling of we don't know our neighbors anymore, we don't live in the same world, we're now connected by technology but more disconnected than ever. And it all boils down to that final line, that final shot where they go, why? Why are you doing this? If they could just have some reason, and they simply say, it's a powerful line, because you were home. It's that simple. It's random, it's violent, it's visceral, it's scary. The fact that all it took was these people being in the wrong place at the wrong time and some psychopaths wanted to have their way and take advantage of it. That's scary. Now, how do we completely unravel all that tension and ruin every part of it? We make 4 god-awful movies that the second one, Pray at Night, isn't that bad. Let's say 3. You make 3 god-awful movies, one being a complete rehash and ripoff of the first one, and the second one, you're literally squeezing, like wringing out a towel that has been dry for years. There's nothing here. There's no reason to tap into these characters' backstories. It's not interesting. It just makes them worse. But at least write a good backstory then if you're going to. There are these flat, fake, not realistic. There's no depth, there's no gravity, there's no anything, there's no substance to these people. They're wastes of horror fodder. It feels wrong. Watching Madeline Petch, or however you say it, fumble around acting like not even a real person. There's no humanity, there's no fear, I just was sick of it the entire time. These movies suck. They're so bad. I remember, this is recent. How did they make these? How did they churn these out? I remember seeing the first one, and then a year later, the second one came out, and I was like, okay, I guess they're on a yearly schedule. That's pretty rare nowadays. Movies don't really do that quite the same way. And then like 3 months later, Chapter 3 was already coming out. So I was like, what have they done? They must have taken 2 weeks on set, shot a bunch of garbage, chopped it up into 3 way stretched out movies. They didn't have enough for 1 good movie, let alone 3 movies. This is a culmination of everything I've talked about in this video. That's why this one is so profoundly, I'm glad I left it for the end. This is just everything wrong with every sequel you've ever seen. It's a cash grab. It's a gimmick. It explains too much. It removes the mystery. It didn't have enough legs for 1 movie, let alone 3. It's every lesson all in one. It's so bad. This one was a slap in the face. This almost made me want to not put it in the video. But I had to get across how bad these movies are. God, okay. Stop stripping characters of their mystery. The unknown is what makes things special. And yes, people will clamor to know more. They'll be, oh, why would these guys do this? What's the motivation of these characters? But either do it in an artful way or continue to not tell us things. Sometimes it's okay to leave things as they are. I'm trying to come up with some justification for why these movies were made, when in reality it was a 2008 horror movie that came out, had middling reception at the time, but it later was looked back on with some fondness because it became sort of a cult classic, and there is some level of tension and paranoia. It's a very simple home invasion, nothing else. Then it's been ripped off and done to death over the last 10 years. They started production in 2009 for the sequel, and it didn't get made until 2018. So 10 years later, the audience doesn't care anymore. We're in a whole different world. Hereditary is out at this point. Make something quality. Don't make this garbage. Garbage. I hated The Strangers. The Strangers sucks. This was a really fun video to make. This was awesome. I'm really happy with every part of it, and I loved the process of making this video. But some movies like this, man, someone recommend a movie to watch that doesn't suck because... Okay, but it's done now. It's over. We did it. Me and you, we did it together. Okay, real quick, let's talk FNaF. So, Five Nights at Freddy's is a different kind of echelon than these movies. They all had to rely on them being independent IP that came out of nowhere and sort of had to establish itself with that first movie. FNaF existed already. It was already wildly popular, and the reason so many people went and saw it is because they already knew what it was. They already liked it. I like the world. I love, the animatronics and the lore and the world and the way they, move, like with the eyes. You know what I'm talking about. And the can't wait to meet you. Like that, it all makes me so happy. I love being a part of that world. And I really enjoyed the first movie. It was a little bit thin, but like ultimately I understood it for what it was. High production design, get the animatronics looking really good, and there's clearly love there. Scott Cawthon put a lot of love into that movie, regardless of how good it was. And it made a butt ton of money, so keep it rolling, make another one. At some point though, can you guys write a story? You have this wide world of lore. You've got 50 books. I don't even read those. I don't know what's going on with that, but there's like 20 games. Sister Location and Ultimate Night, and I know they're not all canon or whatever, but there's got to be so much there, so many characters, so many things to grab from. It was all just so we could get a scene of him with the mask and the cameras on, and he's doing the security thing. But it's like, it doesn't really fit with this movie anymore. He's kind of moved on from that, and also, okay, for what? What's the purpose? I still enjoyed the experience of watching it, but that second one, I left being like, nobody's gonna care about this. It's boring. It all builds up to this weird, super rushed climax where it's like Avengers Endgame and Toy Bonnie or whatever comes out, or the original Bonnie, I don't know, come out of nowhere and they save the day on Halloween. I don't even remember anything because there was no story. They go to the second place that like used to be the first place and it's older, and we don't really get anything from that blonde girl's character. Josh Hutcherson doesn't do anything. The girl doesn't really do anything. I just remember being like, don't you guys have so much material to work from? You don't have to come up with anything new. This isn't Game of Thrones. The reason it sucks isn't because you have to write original stuff. It's all already there. Just tap into some of the stuff you've already made. Again, doesn't really fit into this one because again, it's a little bit of a different movie. I think that they probably will make a third one still. They'll find a way. I think the second one made enough money, and I don't care. As long as I get to see, Foxy and Freddy, whatever again. Just like make it cool. Talk about Purple Guy or whatever. Something to help the people like me out who know enough but don't really like get involved in the deep lore. That would be fun. And just, throw in a couple more Easter eggs, point at the screen, jingle the keys for me. That would be fine. I don't know. But if you could write a story as well, I wouldn't hate it. Okay, take a breath. Listen, I had so much fun making this. It's been a little bit hard to get through it to the end because the last couple movies are really bad, and just sitting in my room watching bad horror movies and like not being able to do other stuff because I want to pay attention is tough. The channel has gotten a little bit of traction lately. Like it's growing, and I've gotten some subscribers and some viewers, which means comments, which means criticism, which means support. It's all wonderful. You don't understand how much that motivates me, and it's made me put a lot of effort into this video, put a lot of time editing, a lot of time, grinding to get something out quickly because I don't want that momentum to die for myself and for the channel. So I really appreciate it if you're still watching at this point. I love all the support. You have no idea. I've watched a lot of bad movies over the last 2 weeks, so if you could comment a great movie, your favorite horror movie, a sequel you think that lived up to the original or surpassed it, anything, just give me something. I always say it. Let me know that you're a person. Let me know that you're out there. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I gotta finish this up, so I'll see you when I see you. Peace.